Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960 AM. I come to you every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM, or you can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca, or you can get all my video casts and podcasts after the fact at briancrombie.com, either /videos or /podcasts. Anyway, I've got an interesting person for you today because I've been following her on social media, and she's incredibly active and has some really interesting things to say. She works for Destination Toronto, but she's also someone who calls herself a hospitality and tourism advocate and influencer, and that she promotes Toronto and becomes known for what Toronto's all about. So her name is Farnaz Mirza, and she is, as I said, someone who knows a lot about what's going on in the tourism industry. Farnaz, how are you? Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Brian. And I've been following you for a while now, and you've been doing amazing, and very proud of what you're doing. And thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure. So, obviously I got to ask you, tourism's got to be down big time with COVID-19. What are people in the tourism industry doing?
Oh my gosh, Brian, it's been a hard hit industry. And at first it was, how are we going to get back and how is everything going to come around? But now things are looking a little hopeful. Like we all know, tourism industry is the first to get impacted due to COVID-19. And we all are prepared. It will be the last to revive, the last industry to actually come back up. And it's been hit tremendously. I just read a report from Union World Tourism Organization, and they are predicting a 10-year revival on the tourism industry.
10 years to get back to where we were.
10 years to get back to where we were. They
Really?
say where 2019 December we were at, yes, that's where 2029, that's how it looks, to get to the same numbers. Of course, things are going to start picking back up, and they are going to be gradual, but we're talking about where we were, the comfort level of people, how people are feeling towards tourism and stuff like that. That's how long they're predicting it to.
But if people aren't going to go on cruises and they're not going to go to Europe and they're not going to go to the United States and other places, maybe that's good for Toronto, that people will stay domestic and come visit the biggest city in Canada.
Yes, and you are right on that. So there are two aspects to this, of course. One is, of course, as what we call a drive market. So right now, the focus for a destination, and maybe any destination, whether if we're talking about Toronto or we talk about like somewhere like New York, everybody in the tourism industry, they're focusing on drive markets. So if you take Toronto into consideration, then the focus will be drive markets. Someone who's driving from Ottawa, someone who's driving from Quebec, and stuff like that to visit Toronto. So of course, as far as drive markets are concerned, yes, it's awesome. But international, but a lot of countries, they also really look forward to international tourism and international tourists, because that's where the I wouldn't say the money's coming from, but yes, that's where the tourism economy actually comes up. So that's one market that we are really looking for, and that is the hardest hit. When it's going to come back, we don't know. As far as drive markets are concerned, actually, I was just talking to Ripley's Aquarium today, and the salesperson over there was telling me that they've already started getting people from Quebec driving in, staying over the weekend, and visiting attractions. So yeah, those are picking up slowly. But
there used to be barriers between Ontario and Quebec. All those barriers have come down, correct?
That's right. All those barriers, they're kind of slowing down. People are easing up and stuff like that. People are accepting, okay, you know what? Like even for me, if you talk to me, I'd be like, okay, I'd love to jump on a car and, drive to Quebec. So I'm pretty sure that people there are feeling the same. And they're like, okay, you know what? Now is the perfect time. Let's drive to Toronto and let's see one of the biggest cities of Canada, right? Toronto is the 4th largest city of North America. So definitely our drive markets are doing pretty good.
Now I noticed that you were in Grand Bend recently. So I guess, some of the cottage country sites are popular right now as well, incredibly.
Oh yes, thank you. Yes, I was in Grand Bay. I was there over the weekend. It was beautiful, and that's what I've been talking to a lot of my followers as well. That explore Ontario. Right now is the time to focus. There's so much to do in Ontario. There's so much. I was at the beach. It was perfect. We had a great day. We had a family day out and stuff like that. 2 weeks ago, I was at Blue Mountain. And that was a beautiful weekend. We were there for 2 days, and it was
I
just like
guess
a feel of Europe to it. So there's so much that we can do in Ontario. And when I was going to Blue Mountain, I actually stopped at a lavender farm. It's called, and that experience on its own. And I was like, where have I been? This is such a beautiful farm.
what is a lavender farm?
So a lavender farm is just it's just a farm full of lavenders. So
And it
it's
smells
just,
unbelievable, I can imagine.
it is beautiful, and it's an Instagram world. I'll be honest. So anyone, all those Instagrammers out there, it is an Instagram world. But just knowing, and me being so aware of my own destination. But now I'm exploring more because I am here, and I'm like, okay, what's there to do?
Yeah.
So just that experience was so amazing on its own, right?
Well, I think unquestionably one of the messages right now is travel in our own province, get to know Toronto, get to know Southern Ontario, and enjoy what we've got domestically, particularly because those people have been hurt so much because of COVID-19. Let's get out and support them. Anyway, we're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Farnaz.
That's right. You got it.
So sorry. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Farnaz Mirza, who is a hospitality and tourism advocate and influencer. She also works for Destination Toronto, and she tries to influence people through social media to get to know their city. Farnaz, how'd you get into this?
So it's a very interesting story. I actually have a very bubbly and a very out there, outgoing personality, and I was headhunted. And asked, hey, you know what? You should be talking to people, influencing people, and you're a people's person. I was like, really? Is that really an industry? Like, honestly, we somehow think that things are rolling on its own, right? But once I got into the destination sales, I actually am a meeting planner. So we invite conferences into Toronto and we bid on them. So once I got into it, and I was like, okay, this is a world on its own. And then I realized how passionate I am about destination sales and influencing people, talking to people, and build my own network like that. And that's how I got into it. Now I've actually done my studies, and I'm a certified meeting planner as well. And that's my story.
I noticed that you say that you're from Karachi, Pakistan, but you also proudly said that you used to be from the UK. So tell me your history.
Yes, I am born and brought up in Karachi, Pakistan, but I have lived a while in UK, London, UK. That's where my family has moved now. So I call it my second home too. So I've done a couple of courses. I've done a couple of my education from London, UK. But now if I say I'm going home, that would be London for me, because that's where my parents are. That's where my siblings are. But if you ask, originally I'm from Karachi. I've done my education from there, from Pakistan. And I got married and moved to Canada. So I have a mix of, all three countries in me. But I'm glad that way, because I get to tour the world like that. Usually I go to London, visit my parents, drop my kids off there, and then me and my husband go on a little Europe tour, wherever that is, right? So I get to travel the world quite a bit because of touching so many countries in my let's just say background.
Fantastic. And I noticed that you posted that Pakistan has opened up its tourist industry. Why, and how have they dealt with COVID-19 that they can open up their tourism industry already?
That's a very interesting question, Brian. Yes, so Pakistan has recently, as of August 10th, they have opened up the tourism industry. So Pakistan is one of the first few countries who are now encouraging tourism. So let me backtrack a bit. A lot of countries are having organic tourism. If you take Canada, so Canada does have organic tourism that's supposedly, like I said, for someone like me, I would love to drive to Quebec right now. Quebecers are coming here to Toronto. So that's all a part of tourism that's already happening. But countries are not encouraging international visitors right now. So Dubai was the first country to start up. They applied all COVID protocols, all SOPs, and then they undertook tourism, and they said, we are going to open our borders for tourism. They became one of the first few countries who were impacted by COVID-19, but have started opening their borders for tourism. Pakistan followed some of the very broader SOPs, and they are starting up tourism as well as of August 10th. And the SOPs are simple. They are wear your mask, practice 6 feet distancing, and operate on 30% capacities. And that's how they started back up. So coming, understanding from a country like Pakistan that they are encouraging tourism, of course, there is a bit of worry to it, but at the same time, there's also a pat on the back, but that they have been able to cross that fear and encouraging tourism. So right now, because Brian, I'm feeling that in terms of tourism and hospitality, there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of fear out there. People know our chief medical officers, like if we take Canada, chief medical officers are encouraging, hey, it's okay to step out there. Wear your mask at indoor public spaces, but it's okay to step out there. So I, being someone who follows them diligently, I am understanding what they're saying, that, you know what, it's okay to be outdoors. It's okay to keep your 6 feet distance, wear your mask where needed. So I'm feeling there's a lot more fear than anything else. That's why
There's got to be a huge amount of fear if it's going to take 10 years for the industry to get back to where it was. And
yes,
frankly, the last thing I'd want to do right now is take a cruise.
Yes, but you know what? That's your point of view, and I completely respect that. But if you ask me, I'm seeing things from the back end. If I talk to the airline industry, people are saying right now to be at the airport is much more safer than a grocery store.
Oh, really? That
Yes.
might make sense, yeah.
Makes sense, right? Because grocery aisles are like this right now, and we are all on each other's faces. But airports, because they were impacted like crazy, now their SOPs are just a little over the top. And a colleague of mine, she just traveled, and she was like, I was like, when am I going to get out of this plane? They were like so careful about their SOPs. So things are so clean.
Just so that everyone knows, SOP stands for?
Standard operating procedures. So all the industries, once they were opening back up, they were all given standing operating procedures by every, like if we talk about Canada and Ontario specifically, before any industry opened up, they've had to follow those SOPs to be allowed to open up. Similarly, right, for the tourism industry, same, restaurants were given SOPs that unless they follow that, they will not be allowed to open up. So on the weekend, I'm actually going on a Toronto weekend getaway, and I was talking. So I am going to Ripley's Aquarium. I want to take my boys there.
How old are your boys?
10 and 8.
Oh, they'll love it.
Yes, so they are at a fun age. So I was talking to Ripley's today, and they were like, they're operating on 30% capacity. So if you ask me, for a Ripley's day out, that's perfect.
Probably a better time to go than regular Saturday.
Exactly. And that's, as much as I would love to see Ripley's full right now, but at the same time, I will avail it at being at 30% because I can see the fish more closely right now, right? Because I can get more space.
What would be some of your others, maybe your top 10 list of things to do in Toronto right now?
So I am right now, there is a boat tour that I took recently, it was a private boat tour, because since there's so much fear out there, if people can do things privately. So a private boat tour of Toronto Island, beautiful day out. It's a beautiful day out. Go hang out at Toronto Island, be there, enjoy the day, and come back in a private boat tour. Other thing right now is definitely Ripley's Aquarium, because it's a busy attraction of Toronto. So if they're saying that they're operating on timed hours, 30% capacity, I would love to get up and close to those fish and see them more closely, right? Yep. Another thing that I'm planning to do this weekend is a Segway tour of Toronto. I love that. Yes, I love that.
What's a Segway tour?
A Segway tour.
A Segway tour, okay.
Yes.
I thought you said a sacred tour. I was wondering, is open doors churches or mosques and bars or something?
That could be a good option too, but no, this is a Segway tour. So it takes you around Distillery District, and it's a proper tour organized. There are a couple of companies for that, and if your followers ask, I can give you some recommendations as well. But so a Segway tour in Toronto of Distillery District, and actually of many other districts. There's a graffiti alley. There's so many other spots that you can actually go on that Segway and enjoy the sunshine.
Awesome.
So
You
that's one
mentioned,
thing.
backyard movies, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so that's one more thing that's happening nowadays because people love movies, love movie nights. So backyard movie nights is actually a very in thing nowadays.
You quoted a company that provides the theater, Cine Yards or something?
Yes, that's right. Cine Yachts, they're actually awesome. They set up a backyard movie system for you, and it's your own personal movie night. They have access to Hotstar. They have access to, I would say, a couple of other, movie streaming videos, online platforms, and you can have your own movie night. And that's absolutely, I actually tried it, and that was amazing because I had my social bubble there, and we sat and we hung out. It was beautiful. It was like my own private movie theater, right?
And what's this about, a film festival at Ontario Place?
Yes, there is actually, I must say you're pretty well informed, Brian. There is a film festival coming up at Ontario Place. There's one that happened, I think those dates have already passed, if I'm not wrong, but there's another one coming up, and that's called the Boating Film Festival. So you actually get to sit on a boat with your bubble, and the boat capacity is from anywhere from 2 to 10 people, and you get to it's called a floating movie theater. Yes, and you get to watch a movie from a boat. So that's happening mid-September. The tickets are already they will be released soon, and that's actually going to be a great experience. That would be something on a to-do list for a lot of Ontarians there. One other thing that a couple of people I would recommend right now is Toronto patios.
Oh, really? Yes.
Yes, Toronto patios. They have been very creative in how they are, starting up their restaurants. And there's some beautiful patios out there. One of them I would love to mention is Harbor 60. Amazing, beautiful patio. I'm actually going to
definitely a parking lot.
Yes, but the way they have actually been creative and build the entire patio, that is an experience on its own. And you know what? In the summer, I enjoy being outdoors. We know that we have a limited
everyone
summer.
does. And I think these patios and the bike lanes and in the curbs and the parking spots are brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of our Mayor, Mayor Tory has been promoting, Active Toronto, right? The bike Toronto that they have implemented, the bike roads, the bike pathways that they have implemented. It's amazing. And a lot of people are actually utilizing that. So be out there, bike in Toronto. Not only Toronto, I would say anywhere in Ontario, right? Like, be out there right now. So what I was talking about was about patios in Toronto. They're beautiful. And right now, this weekend, I'm actually going to Delta, Toronto. And they have recently opened up their own patio, Soho's own patio. And it's beautiful. So if you follow me on Desi Element, I will be putting up a lot of pictures and, doing a lot of my Instas from there. So that's one thing that I'm encouraging.
Well, I guess, the bottom line of your pitch is Toronto is a beautiful city. You can get it, enjoy it.
That's right. Toronto is a beautiful city. Get out there, enjoy, and also enjoy the suburbs of it. Like enjoy the cottage country. Like, go out there for day trips. So when I went to Blue Mountain, I also explored Tobermory. Have you been there, Brian?
I have, right at the top of Bruce Peninsula.
That's right. It's beautiful. So it was my first time. Every year, as guilty as I could be, I run off to Europe because my family's there. So every summer I'm there. So this is the first time I'm actually getting to explore Ontario, and I'm having so much fun.
You're also down in the Niagara wine region?
Yes, I was there. I was at Niagara Falls, and we did a walk on Niagara on the lake. We all know that's a beautiful wine country, right? Like, the entire escarpment is gorgeous.
I've heard
So we
great
did a
things about Prince Edward County as well.
yes, that's something that I really do need to explore as well. But I'm pretty sure that this summer I will be heading there at some point.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
you also posted a fascinating article that quoted that Toronto is the fastest growing metropolitan area in North America and the fastest growing city in North America. So the Greater Toronto Area is the fastest growing metropolitan area versus what was last year Dallas-Fort Worth and Phoenix, Arizona. And as far as cities are concerned, Toronto and Montreal top the list with Phoenix coming in third. So that's pretty interesting that Toronto is growing so much quicker than every other city in North America.
It is, Brian, and definitely we do take pride in that because Toronto is a beautiful, beautiful city. And in the past 5 years, I would say it has done an exceptional job in its coming up with its, putting itself on the map. It is one of the fastest, it is the fastest growing city in North America, and we do take pride in that. And last year it actually hit its numbers above, I do not have the exact numbers in front of me, but it did hit high rocket numbers in terms of tourism. We did host 5 of the most internationally reclaimed conventions in the hospitality and tourism world, one of them being ASAE as well, which was in Toronto, hosted in Toronto. So Toronto has definitely come up on the map and marked itself as one of the growing cities in North America. And we definitely take pride in that.
You know, it's interesting that tourism business is potentially going to come back with everything you're talking about in regards to organic domestic tourism. But my gosh, the convention business is going to be devastated.
Yes. And that is the world that I actually belong in. That is I do destination convention sales. And you're right. It has been impacted tremendously, but we do have a lot of thinkers in this industry who are trying to be creative and how to revive it back. There have been tremendous, there have been many studies that have been happening since COVID-19 as to is the virtual world going to be the new world for conferences? But I'll be honest, the first 2 months, Zoom meetings were skyrocketing, but people are getting fed up because it's human nature to be face to face. It's
Yep.
human nature to have that human contact with
Want to
people.
interact, no question about it.
Interact, right? So in the beginning, we were doing a lot of networking, 5 p.m. virtual hour, cocktail hour networking. It was not hitting home. We were like, no, we're not feeling that networking. Our industry actually survives on networking. So we were not feeling that connection, that we needed something more. So there has been a lot of studies there. So they are trying to be creative. I was reading an article recently, and that is, of course, when I talk about these studies, we're not only talking about Canada here, we're talking about USA, which is highly impacted due to COVID-19. We're talking about other countries as well in terms of conventions. So at one point, they were actually thinking of a bubble on each table that each conference attendee will sit in, and that will be their bubble for that conference. So they're going as far as to thinking that, right, to revive the industry back. But of course, that's a very extreme scenario. But then there was another one, and which was very much relatable to start the industry back up. And one of them was having bracelets at check-in. When you check in for your conference, you can have color-coded bracelet. Red could be, I'm sorry, I need to keep my distance from you and I will be sitting far back. So once you see someone wearing that bracelet, you know how to keep your distance from that person. Yellow could be, I'm all right, I'm keeping my distance, but I'm good to have a face-to-face conversation with you wearing my mask. Or green could be, I'm okay to hug, I'm all right to, meet you. So there are a lot of people who are thinking how to revive the industry back up, right? Because like you said, it will take a long time before events, conferences, public events come back up.
Well,
Um,
I interviewed a guy, can't remember his name in his company right now, but he develops these shields that you've undoubtedly seen, and he thinks they're substantially better than the mask because number one, you can see the whole face. Number two, you can hear far more clearly. Number three, you don't get the mask pimples or rash or anything like that because you're breathing on yourself. And it is just as effective at stopping the spreading of germs as a mask is, potentially even more so. And so those masks are a potential solution. You should look into that. I interviewed another company that thinks it's all about the airflow systems, and that if you have a positive airflow system comparable to what you have in like a pharmaceutical plant that takes all of the stuff out of the air and far better circulation than we otherwise have, that the droplets go right down to the ground right away and get removed. And then the third person, imagine fiberglass out of Kitchener-Waterloo, has developed plexiglass shields and then an air curtain in front of you such that you could sit and talk to people completely normally, but through just a air curtain that goes back and forth, comparable to what you'd have it going in and out of a refrigerator, a big walk-in refrigerator, or going in and out of a door at wintertime. And that stops 99.9% of all of the air droplets.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that. The first one, I actually have my apprehensions about that because I'm not too sure. I haven't done my research on it, if those shields have been approved by our chief medical officers. I myself am not comfortable there because it has a little bit of space in it, but I don't know. I really don't know if the person manufacturing it saying, of course, it has to pass some procedures before it gets to that stage, right? So yeah, that's a great option because you can see the other person, right? As far as the air filtering system is concerned, yes, and interesting to know, our Pearson Airport has installed many of those. So our Pearson Airport actually has those air filtering installed at various points at the airport. And it has a certain square feet that it can cover, and the entire air gets purified. So once you're in Pearson, you actually are breathing pretty much filtered air. Yes, that's right. And also Pearson has around 400 sanitizing stations installed throughout the airport. So that's a huge amount of sanitizing.
Well, I think those conventions that can try to figure out how to make people safe from a public health standpoint are going to be the ones that people want to go to. And people are going to flock to them because they're going to want to connect up with people again.
Yes,
anyway,
and
Farnaz, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much. What's your final message to people from your influencing advocacy of tourism standpoint?
Well, my final message to people is that definitely do as you're comfortable with. But of course, there's a lot of fear out there, but at the same time, I do trust the experts out there, our officers, our chief medical officers that are saying that it's okay to step out there as long as we follow all the SOPs. So I have my comfort there, and I do trust them, trust the experts. So that's my final message. Of course, at the end of the day, we all are going to step out with our own comfort, but as far as SOPs are concerned, if we follow them, if we implement those in our daily lives, then I feel that we should be pretty all right.
Farnaz, if people want to follow you, how do they follow you?
That would be great. Yes, please follow me on Desi Element on Instagram. So Desi means South Asian. Element means how I'm feeling. So I try to add a little bit of kick of my own, where I come from, my Pakistani background into my lifestyle. And that's how I present it to the people. So please follow me on Instagram, Desi Element, DESI Element. And otherwise, feel free to connect with me on Facebook, Farnaz Mirza, or LinkedIn. I am available on all social media platforms, and I would love to answer any tourism questions that they have.
Farnaz, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Maybe I could conclude with just a few comments. I think that Farnaz is encouraging us to do something that's critically important. We had Mohammed Faki of Paramount Fine Foods on the show last week, and he talked about how the restaurant industry in the Greater Toronto Area in Canada has been devastated and they're requesting big money from local governments. We have talked to people in the retail business, and local retail stores have been really harmed. Lots of bankruptcies, lots of people that can't pay the rent, and the list of closures is extreme. And we don't want that to happen in the tourism industry as well. And so, if you're not going to Europe, as Farnaz is not going to Europe this year, take this as an opportunity to go out and explore Toronto, explore Greater Toronto area, explore the Golden Horseshoe, explore Southern Ontario, explore Ontario and Quebec. As Farnaz said, what a great time to go visit Montreal, Quebec City, Tremblant. We've got some beautiful places here, and they need our support right now. And so get out there and spend a little money that you saved up when you were social distancing at home, self-isolating at home, and support our local business. Particularly, a lot of them are small businesses, and they need our support. Farnaz, thank you so much for joining us. That's Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960 AM. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good night.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.